from the Digital Studio, teaching you how to use iMovie at the basic level. So we're going to go over iMovie because it's a great platform for intro video editing, and it allows you to do very common tasks that can be accomplished with most video editors, such as putting multiple videos together, adding voiceovers, adding titles, adjusting sound, and even adding images in between videos and all that. So here, let's get started. So to create a new project, we're going to go ahead and click the Create New icon. So once you open iMovie, you'll be presented with this very basic screen. So you'll hit the big plus icon, Create New. Make sure you hit Movie, where it says Combine videos, photos, and music to make your own movie trailer. The trailer option down here isn't really applicable for most people. Down here we have the timeline, where you will add your videos in chronological order and where you will do all your editing. In the upper right hand box here, you have your preview window. So this is basically what your video looks like. And in the left hand side are your files, where all the files will live, all the files that you have imported will live. So files, preview, and timeline right down below. So to import files. So we want to import our files to make sure that the files that are on our camera now exist on our computer. So let's say we don't run into any errors of the video files not existing, but the project existing. So to import, we'll go ahead and click on this downward facing arrow right down here, and we'll be presented with this large menu. So this large menu basically lets you select any of the videos that you have. You would select multiple videos. You can use the command button if you're using a Mac, and then you would hit the bottom right hand button down here that says Import All, which we have not imported any videos, but it will say Processing Files for Import, and eventually we'll get the screen. So we'll go ahead and cover how to add videos into your timeline. So to start off, we'll go ahead and select, let's see what video has enough length. We'll do the one that's 11.9 seconds right down here. So we'll go ahead and click and drag this in. So click and drag and just drop it anywhere. That's the main way to edit in iMovie. Just click and drag. And one of the most key keyboard shortcuts that we use and we teach people in the studio is the shortcut to cut videos, so the cut tool. So what the cut tool allows you to do is it allows you to split a video at the point of where the playhead is. So for example, if I wanted to cut this video in half, I would place the playhead right in the middle. I would click, and then I would hit Command B. Command B is a lot easier than going into the settings and looking for the cut icon. So hit Command B, and basically what that did is the video is now cut right in half, right where the playhead was. So if we were to play this, it'll play smoothly, but I can add anything in between because there's now a space in here. So this trick also works for audio. So let's go ahead and click on the audio tab on the top hand section over here. We'll go ahead and just click and drag any of these sections here, and we'll just drag it down here. You put the playhead where you want to cut the audio. So let's say we want to do it at the same exact point. We'd click down here, make sure the audio track is selected, and hit Command B. Remember, Command B. Command B, and it cuts the audio. So if you were to play it, it still plays smoothly, but we can do anything with this now. So let's say we want to fade the audio. So let's say we're starting from the beginning. We wouldn't want the sound to be too abrupt to begin with. So if you go to the bottom section, there's this little knob, this little circle, and it says fade audio in if you hover over it long enough. So if you press and hold this and you drag it, it may be a little finicky depending on what mouse you're using. You can click and drag this, and it essentially fades the audio in until the point you selected. Highly recommended for the intros of videos, and you can also do it for outros. So you can do that as well for the outro on the other side. Another thing to keep in mind is the audio is in the yellow/red portion right here. So we want to make sure we bring this back down. So what we can do is we can select the audio track and go to the top right hand corner over here where there's the speakerphone. You'd click on the speakerphone, and you see how it's at 100%. We want that to come down because it's already peaking red. So we want to make sure most of the sound is barely peaking yellow, because if we're peaking red, then we're having distorted audio, and it might not sound good on other computers. So same thing with sweep E, the other track. So we'll go ahead and click on the sound and bring that back down. So we'll try to make them equal. You can also click and drag on this gray bar that's in between here, and you can adjust the sound like that as well. But it's not as precise as using the percentage icon on the top right hand corner over here. So the next thing that I want to cover with you guys is how to add text. So to add a title, we would click on the video section right over here, and we'd go up to titles at the top hand portion here on the left hand side. And this shows us this menu. So here we have different title effects, and it depends on what type of project you're working on. But if you wanted something that was more professional or something that doesn't move, I would just stick with the centered. So centered is just, it kind of fades in and out, and it's not as noticeable. So you would click and drag this over the video of where you want this to start. So right now it's set at the default of 4 seconds. If I wanted it to last the whole 5 seconds, I could click and drag that to 5, as indicated on the left-hand side right over here. So that's 5 seconds long. So to edit the title, you would go ahead and click on this title section, double click it, and you get presented with this section in the preview window that lets you type in what you want to type in. So I'm going to type in iMovie tutorial. Tutorial. Awesome. You can add another line, and you can edit the font size. So that's the nice thing, just that. There we go. Cool. So now we have this intro that fades in, and it plays the iMovie tutorial, and then it'll fade out. So let's say I wanted to add, since I cut this earlier, let's say I wanted to add another video in between. So for example, this 8.1 second video. So I could click and drag this and put it right in between, and the software is going to recognize that it's cut, and it's just going to do that, and it's going to add it in. So let's say we're playing this video of the crowd, and then it'll switch, and then it'll go back to the other video since we cut it earlier. So we can also move this back, the audio track. We can also click and drag this so it joins the other track down below. So we're going to go over the basic features that are included in here. On the left-hand side, we have the auto button. It'll adjust the color itself. It won't adjust the sound, but it will adjust the color to what it thinks fits best. First circle here lets us change the color balance. So if we change the color balance, we can we have multiple options such as skin tone balance, white balance, match color, and auto. So it just depends on what video and what you're trying to achieve. The next one is color correction. So color correction allows us to adjust these in more detail. So instead of using predefined settings, we can adjust the black point, adjust the contrast, adjust the white point, anything we deem necessary. Up next, we have cropping. So a big issue people usually have here is when they add a photo, it'll automatically default to the Ken Burns effect for some reason. So Ken Burns, it basically, let's say your video is 5 seconds long, it will zoom into the picture for 5 seconds instead of keeping it still. So the way to fix that is you would go ahead, and if you have a picture, you would click on the picture, click on the crop section, and then once you're presented with this Ken Burns option, you would go ahead and click fit. And that way the photo would stay still. Up next, we have video stabilization. Video stabilization basically zooms the video in just slightly to take away any distortions that may be present in the video. So any shakiness, any blurriness. Let's see. Up next, we have the background noise selector. So you can reduce background noise. So let's say you're doing an interview and there's the air conditioning. You can go ahead and click reduce background noise. And if you wanted to reduce the background noise by up to 80%, you can go ahead and do that. So you can also adjust the equalizer for voice enhancer, music enhancer, depending on the situation. Up next, we have speed. So here you can speed up the video, make it faster. A video that is selected as fast, you can adjust it by 2 times its speed, 4 times, 8 times, or 20 times its speed. And it is identified in the timeline by a little bunny. You can also preserve pitch so that the sound doesn't peak as much. So filters let us do audio effects, for example. So we can choose between different fancy audio effects. We can either pitch up or pitch down audio. That would be more effective for our audio track down here. Um, so it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. And last but not least, we'll go ahead and export the video. Go to the top right hand corner. So those that have iPhones may be familiar with the icon that has the little box with the arrow going up. So if you click on that, it's basically the share button. So you click on that, and what you want to do is you want to export it or share it as a file. Make sure you share it as a file. That way you have the file saved to your computer. If you were to save it as prepare for Facebook, you wouldn't really save it to your computer, rather just Facebook. So you would hit save as file. Here you have the option to change the title, so we'll do iMovie tutorial, and followed by the description. We'll put in Digital Studio. So these tags can be found when you click on Get Information or Extra Information when you have the video file ready. So tags iMovie, you can leave that in there. Format video and audio or audio only, so we want to export video and audio. Resolution. So resolution does take into account, it will actually export the video at the resolution you choose. So let's say you have 4K footage, but you don't want to, we don't even have the option for 4K, but let's say you had 4K footage and you wanted to export it to save, you wanted to save some space and make the video not as big, you can do 720p at 60 frames. And the actual size of the video decreases. So let's see, with 1080, we get 29 megabytes. With 720, we get 17. Quality medium, I would stick with high so it's not as noticeable. And compress, you can compress for either better quality or just faster export. So it depends on what content you're trying to do. So up next, and then you would hit next. After you hit next, it will give you the option to export. So when you hit next, it'll tell you where you want to save it. So we're saving it as the iMovie tutorial and we're saving it to our desktop. And then you hit save. At that point, your video is exporting in the top right-hand corner indicated by the circle. So it says exporting my movie to. So that's all I have on this tutorial for iMovie. If you guys have any additional questions or would like to learn many of the other cool things that we can do, such as green screen effects, transition effects, globe effects, iMovie trailers, video and videos, or pictures and pictures, make sure to stop by the Digital Studio. Set up an appointment at ERAU Digital Studio. Go to the top left-hand corner and click on Make an Appointment, and we'll be able to help you out. So there it is. Our share is successful, and that concludes the end of the iMovie tutorial.